Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage and a Thursday afternoon live stream at 3 p.m. Hope you're having a good day. I know that there's been a lot of things going on around the planet that aren't very appealing, and maybe we can not talk about that sort of thing and try to focus on classic cars. You know, yeah. Anyway, it is Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock. It is hot and humid here in Georgia, not unexpected, let's put it that way. And I know in the rest of the country, we're also suffering through heat and fires and all kinds of crazy stuff. So, anyway, if you're new to the stream, I do it on Thursdays at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and Monday nights at 7 p.m. And usually have a pretty good turnout. Mondays, we've been averaging probably 50, 55 people. And I think on Thursdays, we're probably averaging 25 to 30, somewhere in that range. If you're here, hit the thumbs up button. Get the likes going on this video. And if you're watching any of my videos, hit that like button. Watch the videos. Even if you're not watching them, let them run. Let the videos run while you're working. Try to get those views up and get revenue coming in. You know what I mean? So anyway, let's see who's here today. First off, right off the top, we have Rick Gain. Let's talk Mustangs to take my mind off all the other stuff I have had to deal with. Yes, I don't blame you at all. Troy, I agree with Rick. This week has been a steaming pile. Oh, and hi. Yeah, exactly. Greg's Workshop checking in. I know I've been watching stuff, and I'm trying not to talk about it, but I have to. I know in Australia, there is some crazy stuff going on in Australia. And I think New Zealand is doing similar things. Crazy stuff. As far as, safety and precautions and yeah. So I feel for you, Greg. Jerry checking in from the Money Pit in Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here. Cooterlev, first and only Cooter checking in. Whoops, wait a minute. You get the first bell today. Just the first bell. Crash Rider, good afternoon from Southern Indiana. Glad you're here. Wally checking in from up in the great hot and humid north. I know Wally. If you haven't, I know everybody here has probably been following Wally and his build of the '68 Mustang convertible. He is currently working on his paint booth and waiting for the temperatures to get right so that he can spray some paint. So I hope all is well. I did leave a comment on one of your videos, with the plastic and the wood and everything for your homemade paint booth, which I think is going to work fine. I did suggest that you do a smoke test, turn on your fan and see where the smoke comes in so that you can address any of that before you go to paint. And Greg, hi Barry, the car is looking great. Yes, thank you, Greg. Thank you. Give me a bell for that. Okay. I'll start off today by saying, it's kind of an off day for me. Yesterday was kind of an off day as well. Just things weren't going quite as well as I had hoped. So when those days come, and they will, step aside, step away from it. Don't force things. I'm trying to make these video edits and videos and all these different things. And even on occasion, believe it or not, I do get frustrated. And so if I'm not feeling it, I just step back. It's just not worth it trying to beat that dead horse, if you can't get things to work. And sometimes it's a matter of stepping away and letting something settle down in your mind so that you can come back to it, and hopefully that's where I'm at. Now, today has not been a good day. I'll just say that as well. Our grandson was a little ill this morning, and my wife was taking him to preschool, and I ended up having some gastric issues. So nothing personal. I'm just trying to say sometimes you just can't do things because you're uncomfortable. So that's where I'm at right at the moment. But I'm doing okay. I'm getting better. Rick, how come I didn't get a first Rick bell? Oh, well, I can give you one, but now it's going to feel hollow because you asked for it. Okay. Not as much meaning when you asked for it, Rick, but you got it. Wally, yes, I will. Just making the modifications you and others suggested. I've moved the door near the fan, plus tripled the filters. Yes, that's the other thing I noticed. I didn't know what your control. I think I wasn't sure if your control mechanism for the fan, I guess, is inside the booth. I guess so. It makes sense to put the door close to the fan, and that's how all standard paint booths are made. Really, they want the fan and the door entry close together so that anything that comes in the door, hopefully, goes right through the fan and goes out the door. So, good call. Okay, Rick, I'm glad you feel better about that. Anyway, so I posted a video, I guess yesterday, on the windshield washer pump mechanism and the washer bottle and the hoses and stuff and all that connection. And, again, these things are not always glamorous videos, but there's details involved. There's things that maybe I suggest or show that nobody else has thought about, or that it may be a different approach into that the end result. So that's why I showed that pump segment, because I had those speakers, and I didn't even think about the speakers that were in the kick panels. And I'm glad that I did all the test fitting with the speakers and the pedal and everything to make sure that the clearance was there, because I would have been a little more than disappointed had I put everything in, put the carpet in, get everything in place, set the speakers in place, the kick panels, and realized that I couldn't use the foot pump for the windshield washer. So anyway, just some ideas that I like to put out there for everybody. I did complete the installation, and I'm going to say complete. It feels like I'm complete. I did complete the installation for the gauge cluster with the Dakota digital gauges. Now, I kind of backtracked on a few things. I've edited the first video for that, because the first video that I've created is mostly talking about the gauges, the assembly process, and it's really about 15, 18 minutes long. And I quickly realized if I do the whole video in one shot, it's going to be 45 minutes, and I know that YouTube doesn't like that. And I know that a lot of people will only watch for a certain period of time and then they stop watching. So I did the first segment where it was going through the process, putting it together, and just showing, all that involved. Now, from there, I will do a follow-up video, which is more about putting in the sensors in the engine block, the speedometer, which I ran into issues with making the connections with the adapter and everything. And there's details about that you may, if you're interested, that you may want to see. And then, of course, wiring it, getting everything in place. And it works. I was pretty excited. Everything works. And I did a couple of things a little differently probably than you could, or maybe somebody would have done, but everything works. Turn signals, high beam indicator, tack works. I know the oil pressure gauge works. I'm kind of hoping that everything's going okay, because I've had that dumb Wi-Fi thing popping up again. So, and actually, I tried to change some settings on my computer. It didn't look like it helped. So anyway, so the everything works. I can't check, and I have no reason why to doubt that it would work, but I have not tested the temperature yet, because I haven't been able to run the car and get it up to temperature inside the garage. I've run it long enough to get fumes in here and realize that I can't keep the car running long enough to get it hot. So that's in place. And then, of course, the speedometer I have not been able to check yet. Now, I could jack up the back of the car and run the wheels just to see what happens, but I have not done that. The other thing is, with this kit, with this Dakota digital kit, you have to calibrate the speedometer. Now, how do you do that? What they tell me is you find a measured mile, and there's a switch you play with to operate it, but you find a measured mile and you drive that measured mile, and that's supposed to calibrate the speedometer no matter how fast you drive. If you're driving 10 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour, as long as it's a measured mile, exactly. So hopefully, some of the roads, of course, a lot of the roads have little markers on the side where you have a mile indicator. Hopefully those are accurate. I may have to experiment with my little Honda and run it just to see if there's an area where I can get a good mile, indication. But anyway, once you do that, it's supposed to calibrate the speedometer to your car. The only question I have on that, and I haven't researched it very hard yet, because how a lot of times I may skip through instructions. You know that. I think we all do. It's like, oh yeah, picture. Okay, put it together. Well, I had to go back and redo some things because of that. But my thought is, if I change the gear ratio in this car, then can I recalibrate it? So currently this car has a 310 gear in it. So if I change things out and put in a 375 or something, some other crazy number, I'm assuming there's got to be some way that you can recalibrate this. And the other thing with that, you have to have a dedicated power source. While I can attest to this, if you have something with electronics that has a memory or something built in, it has to have a dedicated power source. My question too is, what happens if I lose the power source? Does the odometer maintain memory that's in the system? As it is right now, I know that I haven't checked, recently. I had the power on the car, I disconnected the battery a couple of times, and I know the clock was going at its daytime. I haven't checked it today to see if the time has held, which I'm not going to hold at the 12 o'clock or whatever, or I'm so sure it hasn't, because there's no power source. But point being, you have to think about these things. So a dedicated power source that is going to be on all the time. So if I have to, the radio, I have a hot power source for that because it's going to have memory built into it. So I put in a whole nother fuse block beside the original fuse block. And I still have tapped into the original one for some intermittent power sources. And basically that's just to activate the systems, like the AC unit. You can't have a constant on with the AC. You need to have an intermittent that's turned on with the key. So to do that, what I did is I pulled one of the fuses that was on with the key part way out, and I put the wire behind the fuse and popped it in. It's not drawing a lot of power. It just needs something to say, hey, we have power. So anyway, that's where that's at right now. And it looks like things are working as far as that goes. Now, I could see, I had somebody send me a picture of what they're seeing on my screen. And unfortunately, I recognize that it is blurry, but hopefully you can still hear me and catch what I'm saying. Hopefully. Anyway, let me see who else is here. Now it goes back to normal again. This thing's crazy. Ricard checking in. Hello. Glad you're here. Kip Harding. You have inspired me to finish mine. I've had my 68 since I was 15, and I've had it torn apart and painted for over 10 years now. Just lost interest and never finished it. I'm now 40. Wow. That's good to hear. That is good to hear. I want to see, pictures of that. Send me some pictures sometime. Whoops. I got 2 hellos from Ricard. Wally, would a quarter mile at a time work? Well, I wish, but I'm not into that. I'm not into that. So, Jerry, some roads also have 1/10 mile markers to verify the speedometer. In Tennessee, they're on the interstate and in the middle median. Yes. Yep. Wally, yes, I had an e-speedo in my other car, and you can recalibrate it over and over. Good. That's good to know, Wally. Thank you. Troy, that's good information on the code. I'm thinking of getting one for my 65. Thank you, sir. Yes. Yeah, and it's honestly the only thing that I was uncomfortable with, and I kind of still bothers me a bit, is I had to cut up. I know there's probably other options that I didn't pursue, but I cut up the wiring harness on the get back to the original cluster. The reason for that is I have to have a source for the left turn signal, the right turn signal, and the high beam indicator at the least. And then another source, and I show all this in the video, another source that you need that I thought I could pull from the cluster. It didn't work. I thought I could use the wire feed for the original lights, the little lights, and apparently it wasn't working. I hooked that up and it didn't do what I wanted it to do. And maybe I did something wrong in the interim. I don't know, but I ended up using a feed off of the headlight switch, because it tells you specifically in instructions to connect to the taillight harness. It tells you that. So again, what I did is I took the plug-in for the headlight switch and I found the connection that would feed the lights. It says taillight harness, but it really connects the taillights, the parking lights, and whatnot. And I took the wire and I splayed it out and I put it inside of the switch or inside of the plug, let's say, and then press that onto the switch. So now it is in with the flat part, on the switch. That's where I got my feed. And again, maybe there was another way to do that, but I don't want to cut into the big harness, the expensive harness under the dash. The radio harness or the gauge cluster harness, I looked them up. You can find them on several locations. There's $119 to $150, somewhere in that range. And I think had I looked maybe a little harder, maybe they may sell the plugs that I could have just bought the plugs to connect and make my connections. But anyway, if I have to buy, and I don't have another of these to build right now, but if I do, I'll buy another harness. It's just the way it is. But everything works. Now, one other thing that it doesn't do that is relatable to your headlight switch. We all know you can dim the lights in your headlight switch. Unless I may have not looked it up very hard, but you can't, it doesn't matter what you do at that point on the headlight switch other than turn on your dome light. Turning that will not affect your dash lights. They're going to stay on. They're going to stay bright. Now, again, there may be some adjustment that I can make. I don't know yet. I haven't gotten that deep into it. Greg's Workshop, Barry, that is a good differential. I got a 310 in my car, works well. Cool. Thanks, Greg. Crash Rider, audio is good at present time. Well, as long as we have audio, we're okay. Because you're not here for my face. Rusty Mustang Garage, hey, just checking in, still working, but listening. Good. Glad you're here. Her Scrambler, don't know Ford diffs, but 350 gears are good all-around gears. Well, yeah. Well, this car, it had a 310 gear in it, so that's what I left in it. And it seemed to get down the road okay. Cooter, don't tie into the dome light. My dad wired my wiper to the dome light as he had the door open, had to correct the door to get home in the first rainstorm. Oh, man. Yeah, you definitely don't want to do that. There's a few other things that will come up in the video. Again, instructions are for the week, aren't they? I may have skipped ahead on the instructions a little bit and had to backtrack a couple times, but it's okay. I got it together and it works. And I don't know if you can see it or not. I know you, okay, there we go. Let me try something just because you're here. I'm not going to start the car. I will put some power on it. And you see I have a mirror on, right? Blinky, blinky, blink. Yeah, I got the mirrors working. Probably can't see the other one. No, it's facing out. Yeah, and the clock is reset because I've been, again, connecting and disconnecting the battery. So Um, that's okay. I can adjust that. Phil, the small things do take time to complete, especially when other people have been there before you. Different wrong screws, etc. List goes on. Take care, Phil, and I'll show you. Thank you, Phil. Very valid. Wait a minute. Okay, very valid point. And if y'all have looked at the videos on this car, you can back to the first video, which, in hindsight, that video was not shot very well because that was the first time that I tried to shoot a video with a phone. And so it's kind of weird the way it transitions. But I shot that video, and a lot of the stuff with the car was messed up. Just put it that way. There was a lot of pieces in boxes in the car. There was a lot of stuff missing off the top of the engine. It had that 05 style grill stuck in it. I don't even remember if it actually had the bumpers on it. I don't think it did, or at least not the front. I don't remember it's been so long ago, but the gauges were out of it. The seats were just in the car. There was all kinds of pieces and parts. It was actually an alternator in a bucket or basket or something, and the guy had taken the alternator apart. I think he was gonna like detail it, make it look cool. And I can't even remember. I don't remember if I put the thing back together or if I put it together and then took it back to the parts store and traded it in, got a new one. But yeah, lots and lots of little things like that just add up, Getting these mirrors in was a bit of a challenge because you got to run wires down, and then those wires can't interfere. You don't want them to interfere with any of the glass or the mechanisms. So what I found was there's a support brace, in the middle of the car, like an impact bar. And when it comes to the forward section of the door, it comes inboard. So it has like a pocket at the very front. And so when I ran the wires in, I tucked them behind that pocket down underneath the brace, and then brought it back up and put it in through the door. Now, at this point, another thing that I need to consider is the wiring for the mirrors. It's just two little small wires. Well, I drilled holes in the door and in the A-pillar for those wires to run. I didn't put in any kind of grommets. What I'll probably do is use some clear silicone or RTV, something, and just create, put it around it just to seal it up and hold it in place. Otherwise, you could put I could still put a piece of the sheath, that goes on wiring. I could still do that. I don't know that it would help much, but I didn't want to have some big crazy, grommet thing going on. And as of now, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Dawn's Manufactory. Dawn at Betsy checking in. Hey, cool turn signal mirrors. Yes. It's funny. I posted on a Facebook page, Mustang Restoration Facebook page, and I posted a little video, the same one I posted on my Facebook, of those mirrors blinking, And a couple people commented, well, that may be all right, but I would never put those on my 69. Okay, you don't have to. Just letting you know there's an option out there. Somebody else said, those don't look right on a classic Mustang. I say, well, it's your call, buddy. When I look at it, in this case, the car is, what's original anymore, right? When you start digging in and swapping out parts, and yeah, I understand being a purist and you want this to look original, and it does. The car, the body is, in effect, it looks original. We can all agree to that. But when you start getting inside, and I've got the Dakota digital gauges, I've got the vintage air system, I've added power steering, I've added power brakes, pieces and parts that have been replaced. What difference does it make if I use regular mirrors or mirrors with a turn signal built in? The advantage is if you ever, if you're driving a modern vehicle and it has that blinker in the mirror, For one, it lets you know your turn signal's on if you're glancing into your mirrors like you should be. But secondly, is it may help keep somebody else from hitting you. That's the way I look at it. It's an extra little thing that if somebody is driving along behind me and maybe they're not paying attention like they should, maybe that little blinky light over in the mirror catches their eye and they're like, oh, I need to be more careful because there's a beautiful classic Mustang sitting in front of me. So, it's just the way I look at it. It doesn't hurt any. You couldn't tell that mirror from a original one anyway. As far as shape, function, you really can't hardly even see any of the dots unless you stick your face right in it. So, and I know I've got this intermittent Wi-Fi thing. Dave Conville, got the first Dave bell. We've been running short on Daves lately. What's up with that? We're down to one Dave. I haven't seen Winged Warrior on here in a while. David and Cheryl. Who's the other one? There's another Dave. So maybe I need to change the Dave bell because I'm down to one Dave. Owens Manufacturing, anything to help people not hit Dave. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Paul, you will never please anyone no matter what you do to it. That is true. That is true. And if I were trying to, that's never been my agenda anyway. I think anybody who's kept up with me, whether it's here or any other aspect, I try to really not get caught up in what other people think about stuff. Now, granted, we all take effect of that. Somebody may make a comment occasionally. I've had it on here where I've had some people make some really uncomfortable comments, but for the most part, I try not to get into that. It's just not worth it. Don, same reason Betsy has side markers. Yep, good point, Don. That was a good point. I forgot about that. Wally, I've always believed anything we can do to make these old cars more drivable as well as safer, the better. Everything I've done is so I can drive the car. Yes. Well, and here's the thing too. And you can look at this a variety of ways. I can appreciate an original car. I truly can. I can appreciate an original car. But I also can appreciate cars that have been modified. Everybody has their own taste in cars. Now, I also like just about any car. As far as manufacturer, Ford, Chevy, Dodge, I don't care. I'm not picky. I hate that. It's a Dodge. I hate that. Chevy. No, I can't do that. I'm not built for that. I like cars. But the thing is, whenever we look at these cars and we say, okay, well, this car didn't have this. This car didn't have that. This car didn't have this. Why didn't it have it? Well, because at the time, either one, it wasn't available, or two, they couldn't afford to put it on the car. Some of these cars were built for nothing. Like literally 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual, bench seat, and no radio, and barely any kind of function. But somebody bought that car to commute in, and that's all they could afford. That's okay. Just because it wasn't on that car doesn't necessarily mean it can't be on that car. A lot of these things, like I put on disc brakes. Well, this car came with drum brakes. Well, disc brakes were an option. Does it matter? No, doesn't matter. Factory AC, I put in a vintage air system. Ooh, it's not original. So what? I don't care. It works, keeps me cool, good to go. But, there's a lot of people, not a lot. There are some people that really get, like my Model A. I've talked about this before. My Model A is not an original color, and it doesn't have the original style of seats in it. And I've had Model A enthusiasts lose their mind over the color and the seats. They can't look at the car and recognize that the body is just about perfect. They can't look at the car and recognize that the engine is original, the transmission, the wheels, the brakes, the floor, everything else, it's there. They focus on, that color. I can't look at that color. It's just paint. It's just paint. That car, I could repaint it 10 times. I could repaint it 10 different colors. It's not going to change the car. It's not going to change the car. But that's how people are. Some people are just really, really crazy for that stuff. And if a car is original, if a car is absolutely original, leave it alone. I mean, if it's one of these cars that's got 428 Cobra Jet that you want to cut in half and do something with it, well, if it's original, leave it alone. Or if it's a rare one-off type situation, leave it alone. Dawn, Barry's not trying to please everyone. It's his wife and himself. Yes, that he's working for. Yes, I agree. Brian, hello to all. Hope everyone is doing well. Hi, Brian. Glad you're here. Phil, fantastic progress on your car, Barry. It certainly tests a person's mentality. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And I'm looking forward to getting it done. I really, really am. But I'm also having those times where it's like, do I want to go out in the garage and work on it again today? And I want to be out in the garage anyway, but I can't say that I always want to be working on, the same thing day in and day out. So it's making quick progress, I think. The last few things remaining on the car. 1, I got to put the windshield in. 2, I need to redo the vent windows. I got to get the seals right, make sure they're good, which I was looking into that. The seals that go between the vent window and the door don't really go between. They kind of just sit on top, almost like they're just glued on. I may have to look into that a little harder. But anyway, windshield, redo the vent windows. I still got to do the seals across the roof line for the door, the windows, and of course carpet, door panels, kind of minor stuff, door panels, and seat belts, radio, console. I think that's the short list. I was going around yesterday and I was just trying to find little things that needed to be done that, I'm not going to film everything, but little things like I went digging through my parts bag and I found the little bumpers for the license plate in the back. And I put those on. They're just little rubber bumpers, but they go on a valance, helps keep, the plate from making noise. And I found the set for the glove box door. Okay, yeah, get those in there, take care of that. Just little pieces, but it all adds up. Paul, by the time I finish building mine, the only original part will probably be the roof. Yep. Jerry, I'm anticipating the spas on the Mustang. It is moving forward, and I have contacted the manufacturer about a couple items. Okay, and that's the spas. You're talking about the electric steering, power assist steering. Crash Rider, if no one ever wanted to change or modify a vehicle, we would still be driving Model A's. Good point. And here's something else, and this is just a conversation I've been having with somebody. Maybe I will talk about it. Okay, if you follow Mustang Connection 1, you know who that is? Rich? You ever follow him? You ever see his videos? Mustang Connection 1. Nice guy. We met up at SEMA. We've actually communicated many times, talked on the phone many times. We kind of have an idea. Well, he kind of has an idea, but he wants me to help him with it. And I'm really trying to find a way to make this work. And this is just conversation, but one of the ideas that we've talked about is making, and you're going to love this, a Mustang station wagon, or because they did the prototypes, for the station wagons. There's several of them out there. You can find pictures of them on the net. One was somebody had made a 69 Mustang station wagon. Now you may look at that and go, why would you do that? Well, because it's a challenge and because it's there. Now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the difficulty with making a car like that is finding the donor. Okay. So obviously, the default answer is to go find a Falcon wagon or a Pinto wagon or something along those lines. Do you know how hard it is to find one of those cars right now? Any kind of car that is a station wagon of the classic generation, either they're crushed, they've been all demo derbied, or people are hanging on to them and putting them back together. It's almost impossible to find a station wagon. In fact, one of the ideas that I had years ago that actually I saw a picture of it and I loved the picture. I found a picture of I think it was a 69 Camaro that they had merged the roof off of a Malibu wagon. And it looked like it was built to be that way. That thing looked amazing. So here's the conundrum if you're going to do something like this. First, you need a donor car, obviously a Mustang, which that's not that complicated. Even if you bought all the pieces and you built one like from Dynacorn, is one thing you could do. But the donor car for the roof line, right? I have it in my head. I know which car I think it should be, and I actually have somebody trying to do a Photoshop for me. That I'm trying to do a Photoshop for me. If you can envision it, I don't know how good your imagination is, but picture a 69 Mustang. We can all do that pretty easily. It could be a coupe or a fastback, whatever. And you took the roof line of a Dodge Magnum. Now, bear with me. If you look at a Dodge Magnum, you remember the car, they were built from like 06 is a kind of the market time. I forget what the actual break point is, like 05 to 12 or something along those lines. The Dodge Magnum. That was Mopar's station wagon deal. Hot rod. Cool car. It really was. But if you look at the roof line, because you look at a Mustang and it comes up, and then it tapers back slightly. Just look in the background, right? You got this slight taper. Well, the Mach 1 has a bigger taper, and of course the coupe blunts off. But if you look at the roof line of that Magnum, you can almost visually put that together in your mind. The back section with the tilted glass is very, very, very close to the angle of the quarter window, right? Very, very, very close. So you could kind of play with the location, give you an A pillar, what would be technically a B pillar, but and merge the two, put it together. That's just my idea. And I really think, because, we've talked about it, it's like, what else could you use? An Escape or, some sort of SUV. But to me, the car that makes sense is the Magnum because it's already a station wagon. And it makes that transition, the roof line kind of drops off. Anyway, so if anybody is bored and they're good with Photoshop, find a Magnum picture and a Mustang picture and put the two together for me because I'm not very good with that stuff. And just take a look at it. Just take a look at it. I think it would be kind of cool. Jerry says, yes, the EPAS, the electric power assist system. That's thank you, Jerry. Robert, afternoon all. I love wagons, but yeah, they are the hardest cars to find. That is very true. Especially if you go back into the 60s. I don't know what the production numbers were comparatively, but like if you go into the 70s, any Impala wagon, LTD, Country Squire, most of those ended up in a demo derby. And they're still being put in demo derbies because they're still out there. And I know people that have literally gone around the country and buy up every Impala station wagon or whatever, Biscayne, whatever the model number is. They buy up all those Impalas and they stockpile them just so they can smash them up in a demo derby. Tis true. So anyway, that was just one idea that we've kind of bounced around. And I don't know. I kind of like the challenge of it. I think it would look cool. I really do. I think it would look cool. Um, so anyway, what else is going on out there? What kind of projects updates do we have from anybody? Robert, I am on new internet here, so we'll see how it goes. Trying out the T-Mobile internet so far better than cable here with higher upload speeds. Interesting. I had to ditch T-Mobile because we could not even get them service over in Alabama. So we actually got rid of them. And that's another thing I've been wanting to try, but I have not been able to pull it off yet. Is hooking up my iPhone to my laptop to see if that would help. Marshall, I'd be curious how close a GM G-body wagon would be on Mustang Dimension. Seems like they might be a lot more plentiful anyways. Well, maybe, but I don't know. I guess I look at that Magnum and I realize that the shape of it and the angle of the windows really work well in the in my mind anyway. Dustin, currently replacing the hood hinge holes on the apron. When I weld in, does it have to be flush, or can I weld the new ones on top? Replacing the hood hinge holes on the apron. When I weld in, does it have to be flush, or can I weld the new ones on top? It needs to be flush. So the apron panel, the plate, whatever you replace, has to be flush to the panel. So when you put in the hinge, it's flush to the panel. It's not going to push it inboard. So just make it flush. Dawn, I'm using strap to pull Betsy's rockers into alignment. Floor pan fun. Yeah. Well, Dawn, I know you sent me pictures on that. And I also question the pans. Because I don't know how accurate those pans are. As far as the right width. But I mean, if you found a discrepancy and you can fix it with the straps, then all more power to you. Dustin, sorry, still new to this. Thank you. Oh, no problem. No problem. Robert, the late 80s, early 90s GM front-wheel drive wagons would be closer in width, but still a little wide. Yeah, and the thing is, it depends on how you want to look at it, how you fit that into the car. So, I'm not looking at making it flush to the quarters. I think it has to sit slightly inside of the quarter dimension. You don't want to lose the shape of the quarters. And as far as the Magnum, well, you can do a lot with cutting and slicing and spacing. If you cut that roof in half and you position one side, you could even change the angle on it so it kind of tapers in like the roof line on the fastback, and really just pie cut. There's a lot of things you can do if you have the basics of it. So anyway, it's something on my mind that I thought that might work. And I was thinking about this a lot last night because there's a show on, is it Chasing? I think it's Chasing Classic Cars. That guy who he's an older guy that goes around and finds cars, resells them. He has a shop called F40, I think. And they did a show last night, and the car that he had on there ended up, it was just one of the craziest builds I've ever seen. It started off as a Lakewood. If anybody knows what a Lakewood Corvair is, it's a station wagon. It's a Corvair station wagon, early 60s. My dad actually had one in his junkyard. Very, very rare to find a Corvair station wagon. Anyway, some engineer had seen this. There's a whole story behind it, but there was a drawing of this futuristic car that was supposed to be made out of aluminum, and it was really ugly. Just put it that way. It was just ugly as could be. And his engineer found these pictures, and he thought, I can make that. So he took 3 Corvairs, Corvair wagon, a Corvair, a 4-door sedan, and a 2-door, and he cut pieces off of each one, and he made this monstrosity. It had a center steer front driver seat. Okay. Had a wraparound windshield. And it was like, it almost looked like the same car coming or going. It was just ugly as could be. It had Pontiac Tempest, I think, headlights in it, up and down headlights. It had, a bunch of things that were just crazy. So anyway, as Paul points out, Wayne Serini, I guess, he's owned this thing for like 10 years because he thought it was something cool. Then he realized it's not that cool, but I need to do something with it. So he took it into a shop, and they did a cosmetic type of restoration on it. They repainted the car, added some bling to it, changed out the interior. I won't say I'm a fan of the interior. Took it to Amelia Island for their concourse show, whatever, and they have like a special category for oddball cars or one-off cars, and he won a ribbon for it. And then there was a guy from I don't know what his last name is, but Lane's Auto Museum up in Nashville was there, looking it over, fell in love with the car, and bought it and put it in his museum. So Wayne come out good on his end because he got rid of the car, and Lane ended up with another piece in his car museum, which I want to go to one now. Not because of that car, but because they did some footage at his museum, and there's all kinds of cool stuff in there. Really cool stuff. So that needs to be a trip I need to make, is to somehow get up to Nashville and see that his museum. Now we're back on a slow Wi-Fi. Dawn, neighbor has a Magnum wagon. I think you are onto something. Yes, I do too. Robert was his name, Homer Simpson. Yeah. Q Ben, how long do you see the classic car registration business lasting with the upcoming of electric vehicles? That's a tough question. That is a very tough question, because the way it is right now in the world, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. The thing is, these electric vehicles, nobody's going to ever restore an electric car like this. No modern, they're not going to say, I restored a whatever, Tesla, whatever. The difficulty with any electric vehicle, I think, more than anything, is sustainability. Now, granted, we've been burning gas, oil, coal for centuries when it comes down to it overall. But what they don't seem to take into account is what it actually takes to make an electric vehicle, and the battery and all the materials, and then what happens with it after the life runs out of that thing and they have to scrap that stuff. That's more of a challenge, I think, than anything. Now, I think that you will eventually see the restoration business, it'll have to wean off. It'll have to at some point. For one, we're going to eventually run out of cars, I think, that are restorable or desirable. If you go back and look at, say, the 55, 6, and 7 Chevys, I know when I go to a cruise in or something, I'm kind of like, I like them, but I'm not excited about them as other cars. And I think the generational gap is going to move forward to where the people that were very excited about those cars were going to be decreasing. And who's going to take them on? Like in my instance, I have the 31 Model A. Well, neither one of my sons or daughter know anything about that car as far as making it run and driving it. And they probably don't have any interest in it. Maybe I can get my grandson interested in it. I don't know. But eventually it's going to be, well, what do you do with it? Right? The other thing we have to worry about is the mandates. if they start saying that, well, you can't have this or you can't have that, are we going to develop an underground black market for parts, supplies? That's genuinely the scary stuff that we have to think about. I know SEMA's been putting up a good fight for fighting off some of the government mandates they're trying to put in, and when or why or how, I don't know exactly. I can't predict any of that, but it's just going to be a shift of, because again, I think to me, I say this, I could be wrong. If you look at production numbers of cars, you come up into the 80s, into the 90s, get into the early 90s, maybe even the 2000s. People are, still buying up the Fox body Mustangs and stuff like that. But are they restoring them, or are they building drag cars out of them and stuff like that? It's really hard to say where that line is going to be drawn. It says, well, we're not going to, make these parts anymore. Just not going to do it. And I think some manufacturers are probably already doing that. Like when Saturn went out of business, somebody had to buy up all their surplus parts, and now they're reselling them to, try to keep these cars on the road as long as they can. But once they're gone, nobody's going to restore a Saturn. I don't see that happening. So I don't know. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough moving forward, honestly. Troy, you got me thinking. Take a look at the 9903 Taurus wagon. That roofline may work also. That's a good point. They made a ton of those, didn't they? All right, let's see. Rusty, I see the problem with all newer cars that all the electronics that are placed in them, who is going to be able to get a new display screen for some of these cars 40 years from now? Good point. Very good point. That's a very good point. Dawn, the right to repair fight. Yes. Dave, Chevrolet just stated, oh, wow, I just had my lights did you see the lights go? It's not a good sign. Chevrolet just stated advertising an electric crate swap that they put into a 65C10. It just popped up on Facebook this week. Send link later. Not that I support this type of thing. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's interesting. I'm open-minded to a point where you might have to consider eventually, maybe, I don't know, converting something like this to an electric car. Might. Not because we need to, but we might have, maybe our options might run out. We have, if we want to drive it, the only way you can drive it is to convert it to this, electric vehicle. Otherwise, it just sits. And then what? Robert, you can't get modules and screens for cars that are less than 5 years old. They're disposable cars at very high prices. Yep. Greg's saying Barry won't happen in my lifetime, I hope. Yeah, you and me both, Greg. You and me both. There's a lot of things I don't want to happen in my lifetime. I think we're all on that boat. Lots of crazy stuff. Crazy. I'm not sure if it was just hang on just a second. Let's see if the weather's. Oh, yeah. Okay. I heard a gust of wind come out the door, and I thought, well, that's odd. I looked outside, and it's very dark and overcast. Iron Horse Garage. Howdy, Barry and viewers. Yes. Glad you're here. We got a good number today. We've been averaging we're up to around 44, 45, somewhere in that range. And that's a good number. We've talked about several things. I think we've done a pretty good job of that. As I said earlier, the next video that'll come out tomorrow will be the part 1 of the Dakota Digital gauge cluster assembly. So I think I think there's some good information in there. Everybody can learn something from the process. And then I will continue on. I don't know when the next part will be ready, but I'll do a part 2 and follow up and try to make sure everything's covered. Dave, I can see being forced into the electric vehicle. One of the key things they called out was that it still sounds like a V8. Oh boy. Excuse me. Oh boy, it sounds like a V8. Well, I may have to. I mean, it's we're all going to be. I'm not saying we will be, but I'm saying there's a lot of stuff they're trying to push on us. You know, Marshall, as a great Charlton Heston once said, just another controversial subject from my cold dead hands. Yeah, I'm with you. I'll give you a bell for that, Marshall. Yep. I'm actually looking into it, and maybe I shouldn't even say this. I'm looking into getting a black flag to put out in front of my house. Maybe. But again, if I do that, then it might identify that, hey, we need to come heavily prepared for this guy. Iron Horse, Marshall, I like you already. Yep. Dave, great string of videos. Thanks for all the great info. Yeah. Well, and there's more coming. There's more coming. Now, I've said it before. I've got to get, this thing done. I've got to get the 67 coupe here before I can start doing the conversion on it to the fastback. There's other cars that I may be interested in that I may have to look at. There was one that popped up recently on my Facebook feed, 65, that would probably be a really good deal. And I would probably buy it if I had a place to put it. But I don't. I don't have a place to put it. Is it Mike or Mick? Now that you've experienced installing a vintage air kit on 67, 68 Mustangs, how long of an install would it start to finish if you did another one, including new compressor and bracket? I'll be honest. I mean, I could probably, if I didn't film it, if I just worked on it and put it in, I could do it in a day. Honestly, I could do it in a day. Be comfortable, give a couple days just to be comfortable at it. And that doesn't count charging the system because I don't have I have the equipment to charge, but I don't have the equipment to charge. So I feel like I could probably swap it out in a day. There are some secondary things that would interfere with that. Like this one, I had to do the one I put in this, I customized the length of the hose. So I had to go find somebody that could cut the hose, put a, shorter fitting on. So that was one thing that could kind of throw it off. You can order custom hoses, I know. So that may help. But yeah, I would say no more than 2 days to be comfortable. Robert, I will be getting back to dent pulling on the rockers now that an annoying project is out of the shop. Had to repair some old furniture where the veneer came off. Tedious work. Yeah, that's not in my wheelhouse. Cooter, anyone remember the movie The Last Chase? Lee Majors driving the last operable car being hunted by Burgess Meredith in an F-86 Sabre. Was it a prediction? I've never heard of that movie. Now I'll have to look it up. The Last Chase. Interesting. Robert, I left you my gauges, but I couldn't leave my vacuum pump behind. Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't have all the equipment. Can only do so much. Karsten, hi Barry, a little late to the party. I'm glad you're here. Even if you're late, hit the thumbs up. Hit the thumbs up. All right. Let's see. Iron Horse. Barry, how long is it taking you to build your subscribers to what you have? Way too long. Way too long. I started getting more serious about making videos in 2011. That's why my shirt even says since 2011, right? That's when I started getting more serious. And I was making some videos prior to that. I don't know when I actually put out some videos, but things started picking up more whenever I started with this car, because we had the body shop and I was trying to make videos to promote the body shop, trying to make that happen. So if you go back and look at almost all the earlier stuff is all related to the body shop. There's a bunch of stuff. on there from the body shop. 65 Galaxy was the body shop. The 70 Mustang, Thunderbird, a bunch of stuff was related to the body shop. And when I escaped the body shop and the business partner that screwed everything up, just saying, when I escaped that in 2013, I think it was, that's when about it was like August of 2013 is when I started working on Jade, and the numbers started to grow from there. And then I put Jade aside and I did the 65 Mustang, the light blue one. I did that one. And then I did Mystique. I did a lot of other stuff in between all that. And then of course the PIA car that is up on my lift, the convertible, which I set Jade aside to do that. And so anyway, numbers grew from that car a lot because they were interested in it because I was building a car from scratch. So, and I can't blame them. But it is what it is. So I average, I think if I go to I can look at my like analytics, I think, give me just a second. The hard numbers tell me I'm averaging about 500 subscribers a month is what I'm gaining. The problem with that is subscribers only matter when you get to 1,000. When you get to 1,000, because when you hit 1,000 subscribers, then you can monetize your channel and try to make some money. Up to that point, it doesn't really matter, but after that point, it really doesn't matter. You could have, 1,001 subscribers, and if you make one viral video that gets 1 million views, whatever, then you'll be making money, good money. The problem is, I have 50,000 or 51,000 subscribers, and my videos are averaging like 1,200 views, 1,500 views, 2,500 views, depending on what it is. So while it's nice to have the big subscriber number, it doesn't pay out unless all the subscribers watched my videos. See, that's the difference. You try to get get people there, and they just they'll say, oh yeah, I'm subscribed, but then they never watch your video again. So it doesn't really matter. So I feel like if I have 50,000 subscribers, I would say at least every one of my videos should have at least 25,000 views. Just half the people watch the videos. Robert, I'm up to 237 in less than a year, which I'm surprised to get that many. Well, you're putting out some good stuff, and not that I'm not here to say anything beyond that. Is that the connections we make? Okay, so I can think of like 3, maybe 4 people that have started YouTube channels because of my channel. In effect, right? One of those is taken off very well is Grease Rookie, Andrew. He started his channel because of, connecting here. Of course, Wally, I think it took my advice and started a channel. Robert, you took the advice. Don, you took the advice. I don't know if Greg did. I think Greg may have started his channel because of me. So when we have those connections and we can relate that to people, say, hey, go check out so-and-so's channel. Go check out, it helps. It all helps. So the more we can do that with and help each other's channel grow, the better it is. The better it is. Karsten, my son's Buick came back from the painter. It looks good. So there's a lot of work ahead to assemble. Aging. My son's Buick came back from the painter. It looks good. A lot of work ahead. Okay, to assemble. I'm not sure what aging is, but I'm glad it came back looking good. Iron Horse, we're almost halfway there. Good. Don, I have 3 subscribers. Well, that's going to change. You'll see that changed. In fact, Iron Horse just subscribed. So there you go. Now you're up to 6. See? That's exactly how this works. We cross over and help each other learn about it. Paul, I've watched a fair few of the Brooklyn Pony videos, obviously because it helps with the panel fitment on my own. Superb videos, in my opinion. Yeah, and I thank you for that. I thank you for that, Paul. The difficulty, as I've mentioned it before, the biggest difficulty is YouTube doesn't care. I can make the best videos in the world. YouTube doesn't care. If I'm not getting 500,000 views, I may as well just be on a back burner. They're like, yeah, this guy's not doing anything. And that's why I've talked about it before. People that help me out with Patreon or things like that makes a difference, because the numbers never come out really good on the on YouTube. They just don't. Unless you're doing some crazy messed up stuff that people getting hurt, blowing stuff up and getting all kinds of views. YouTube will promote that. They want people seeing that. Okay, Robert, and then Boogie Bum. I started watching Grease Rookie and Fertile Craftsman because of Joe Daddy. See, there you go. Q Ben, have you ever done a Mustang 2 front conversion on a late 60s Mustang? Thoughts? I have. If you go back and look at if you go back and look at the Brooklyn Pony videos, I put in that convertible, I put in the Mustang 2 style conversion. That's a great setup. It really is. It really is. Once you get rid of the shock towers, it gives you a lot more space under the hood. Again, remember that the reason these cars have shock towers and they have control arms and the way it's set up is because that was what was available at that time. So that's what they went with. And you put in a modern type of system, you get, a lot more options for control and handling. So I like it. I like it. Iron Horse Building Community, unite the clans. Robert, YouTube only cares how many ads are watched. Ads mean profit. Yep, exactly. Rusty, your 65 rebuilds are enhancing my bodywork knowledge. Cool. Good to hear. Greg's Workshop. Barry, I wish I could get 1,000 subscribed by the end of the year. Greg, I hope you can. I really do. I hope you can. Jerry's Garage. Dawn, I just subscribed. Okay. I think another one was Brendan. I think Brendan from New Zealand. I think he might have started a channel because of what I'm doing here. And Robert, I regret not doing the M2 front suspension on mine. Yeah. I don't regret it on this car because I not really didn't want to do that route. Your car though would have been ideal for it. It would have been ideal for it. But this one I didn't want to mess with what was there. I could have. And in hindsight, maybe I should have, but I didn't. But it is what it is now, and that's where it's staying. Unless somebody else comes along and wants to change it after they buy it from me. Anyway, okay. This has been great. We've been an hour and 10 minutes, which is plenty of time. We covered a lot of ground today. I hope we answered some questions, got some ideas out there. Again, I will have another video out tomorrow on the Dakota Gauges, part 1. And then I will do, it's actually part 94, I think, on Jade. Yeah, I'm getting close to 100 videos on that car. And then I'll have the part 2 out for the next, next part in the Dakota digital build. So Don says, thanks, guys. Yep. Cuban, what sway bar to use for this kind of an M2 setup? The sway bar I'm using came with a kit. It was TCI, total cost involved, was a company that I was provided for this car for the convertible. Iron Horseberry, were you in the military? Yes. Yes. Yes, I was in the military. I was in the Army, 85 to 88. 10th Mountain Division. Yep. That's why I can't hear anymore. Yeah, everything is pretty structured. You're right. Thank you for that. Crash Rider, no problem. And the problem is most people can only allot so much time viewing the YouTube videos. I have subscribed to many, but only visit a few. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Good point. Dawn, I have to hurry up the videos. Yeah, you better start putting them out and get people involved. Greg, Barry, I was one of four. Barry was one of four people to help me start my shop and my YouTube. Cool. Thank you, Greg. All right. I am going to call it a day. I'm going to try to get some more stuff done. I've got some filming to do. And yeah, we all have stuff to do. So I'm glad everybody was here and contributing and participating and making it a good time. We'll be back on Monday night at 7, and we'll talk about some more stuff and see what's going on over the weekend. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.